Good morning. Day off for me yesterday, but there were a couple of strong candidates. Did you spot them yourself? On a quiet day, a couple of standouts. I wouldn't have played the FA Cup, and a surprise for me that West Ham insisted on being competitive. You'd have thought, get rid of this, avoid distraction, stay up. Simple as that. Didn't play. Would have had a bias towards Brentford based on my personal opinion that West Ham wouldn't have wanted a cup run. But there we go. 2-2 it ended. French League 2, Dunkirk and Reims, as you were. 2.3 the favourite again is not a good trading match on paper. It's all dependent on what happens with the in-play stats. Now, Wi-Fi, well, it's just Soccer 24, tends to be a bit slow in loading. How important is this match for Dunkirk and Reims? Well, Dunkirk could have done with a win, couldn't they? An extra 2 points, and they would be on 41. They would be in 5th place instead of Red Star. So that would have been a match, I think, last night. I would have laid the very, very late draw. Reims would have benefited from an extra 2 points. They would get themselves to the semi-final or the final place in Liga. So the Liga promotion final with a win. So that's certainly one I would have laid the late draw and lost that, of course. Lazio and Sassuolo, too tough to call. On paper, Sassuolo the best side, but why a Lazio favourite? One of those conundrums. Not sure how or if I would have played this. The key to success over the weekend was a correct choice of matches, wasn't it? Eredivisie, no real play there yesterday. But young Ajax, if you were with the favourite, they did come from behind at one point. But this is typical of this league. It's a goals league more than a trust the team league. Spanish La Liga would have been your profitable trade of the day. I really hope you spotted this one. Real Oviedo scoring first. And gettable. They don't tend to get that second goal. Espanyol, if you had the in-play stats, you'd have seen the rise for them. That was a strong play. Almeria, the banker of the day, and delivered, which was a pity because all of our other bankers over the weekend decided to play ball and concede first, get themselves in trouble, and then get themselves out of jail. Kayserispor and Trabzonspor. Trabzonspor taking advantage of the red card. Not sure what the odds would have been prior to the red or post-red, but good reaction from Trabzonspor. It's exactly what you expect, taking advantage of a red card. So let's have a look at today, and we're going back into Europe. Now that will bring to light why Paris Saint-Germain lost to Monaco at the weekend. So moving on down, Championship first, Leicester City against Bristol City. Now the problem Leicester have is they are in the relegation zone. They have to be reactive to that, reactive to the dropping of points. So they're in the relegation zone, or they're there or thereabouts. The research I've done for the Championship is predominantly based on league position for members. Third bottom plays entry point to the top 6, 57. They're on 50, get to 53 with a win, Bristol City. So this is a vital match at both ends of the table. Leicester City to try and get themselves, as a newly relegated side from the Premier League, got to get themselves out of this hole. Not expected to be here at all. Should have kept Jamie Vardy, really, instead of getting him off to Cremonese. He would have done a job in the Championship, that's for sure. Millwall and Derby, yet again, league position is key. That's the only major point I look at. Automatic promotion awaits 3 points for Millwall today. 5 wins in 6, 2 impressive away wins, particularly in that playoff, the playoff Hull. So playoff positioned Hull. Derby, possibility to break into the playoff places on goal difference with 3 points today. So this is a really strong promotion 6-pointer, Millwall and Derby. Evens favourites at home. I was very impressed with their result against Hull. I think that was an away win against a fellow playoff place, Hull. If they can capture any of that, Millwall, today, they would be favoured. Derby, well, let Sheffield Wednesday score when Sheffield Wednesday were down to 10 men and just laboured with a 2-1 win over them. Not that impressed with that. Portsmouth against the Swans. Again, it's not the best market on the planet. So bear that in mind if you're considering this one. Portsmouth, 5 points above the relegation zone, so business is not concluded yet. 2 consecutive home 0-1 defeats. Are they going to keep the Swans in a similar vein if Swansea score first? Must win to break the 50-point club, Swansea. And they did take advantage of Stoke's red at the weekend with a comfortable enough 2-0 win. Well, we're entering that territory again, aren't we? Sheffield Wednesday, you book yourself in for 3 points. It's Watford's turn at the moment. How will Watford benefit? 2 wins in 3 matches against the top 10 for Watford suggests they'll have a go here. And it's similar odds that you've got with Derby. Okay, that looks a get 3 points off the Owls match. Wrexham coming off the back of that match with Chelsea, where they were very impressive. Hull coming off the back of that loss against Millwall, where they need to rectify that. This is again a playoff 6-pointer, isn't it? We open up the standings and look at Wrexham and Hull. This is where we'll get our motivation from. Must take points off your near rival. It's more important for Wrexham to take points off Hull. With Derby, if Derby win today, they will be pressurising Wrexham's 6th place. So it's important for Wrexham to get something out of this match to stay in the top 6. Hull starting to lose, as you can see there. That Middlesbrough loss was poor, and then a 1-0 loss to Ipswich. So they're losing against sides in the playoffs. Is that going to expand to Wrexham here, who have the better form coming into this? This is one where you take the draw on late on for sure. Stoke and Ipswich. Ipswich arguably poorer away from home than at home. Stoke coming off the back of that red-carded loss to the Swans. Now, I can't see Stoke in the top 14, so they're not having the best of seasons. Ipswich, though, 64 plus 3, 67. Takes them ever closer to Middlesbrough, while Middlesbrough remain out of the 70-point club. So I couldn't see Stoke there, which suggests they're in the wrong part of the table. Mid-table mediocrity for Stoke. They're not being pressured for the relegation zone, but they will enter the 50-point club with a win. So that's motivation itself. But I would be keen to look at Ipswich. They have been very quiet, though, Ipswich of late. Almost looking as if in the last 2 matches a 0-0 might be on the cards, but then conjuring up a goal at some point. Notably, in the last 2 matches, Ipswich, their in-play stats have been very poor, but they have delivered a goal. So you might be a little too influenced by negative in-play stats today, but they still might deliver. English League One, all about where these teams are relative to each other. I've done all of the research for members for league positions, so you'll know instantly. Cardiff, chance to go top with a win, huge motivating factor. Barnsley find themselves in 12th place, will enter the 50-point club with a win, and that's interesting because there's only 2 places available within the 50-point range in the top 6, Stockport and Huddersfield. While that remains, any attempt to get into the 50-point club must be grabbed. So Barnsley, it's important for them to do something today. Doncaster and Luton. Luton have been impressive for me of late. I wonder if they can continue being a trader's friend. Probably not at these odds. Last 2 matches, they've had a come from behind win in the cup and a come from behind draw, I think it was last match. So they have produced a winning trade for us, Luton, but they don't seem to be really benefiting, do they? Another case of a side like Barnsley who will enter the 50-point club with a win today. Donny, they are only 3 points above the relegation zone and will enter the 40-point club, which is 1 foot in the door. So this is another important match today, but it's another one the market can't split. I have been very impressed with Luton last 2 matches. I wonder if I'll be biased towards them this evening. Exeter and Lincoln. Let's bring up the standings here as well. Do note the market first. We've got an odds-on favourite, Lincoln, away from home, top of the tree. So you're automatically looking to them to consolidate. They're 10 points above Bolton. We're getting near that stage of the season where they will have guaranteed themselves at least a playoff place. We're getting close. 10 points, 3 wins and a draw above Bolton. So Exeter, well, they're just at the bottom of this page here on 42. We're 36, the entry point to the relegation zone. Could do with a win. Just lukewarm, really, for top of the tree, isn't it? 1.81. Mansfield against Reading. Mansfield 16th place. Reading find themselves just outside the playoffs. A win today for Reading could take them into the playoffs. Huge motivating factor for them today. Let's get up the rest of them. Stevenage and Leyton Orient. Stevenage 54 plus 3, 57. So another huge match for Reading and for Stevenage today. Leyton Orient look like they're in the wrong end of the table. They are in the last relegation zone. 39 with a win. So that has everything on it for both teams, doesn't it? Wigan and Plymouth. Wigan just above the relegation zone. And Plymouth, again, one of those who need to enter the 50-point club while there's 2 remaining playoff places within the 50-point range. So there's a lot going on in League One tonight. The only negative we have is trusting the teams in these lower tiers. We're not getting the calibre of team that we had on a Saturday and a Sunday today. Carry on in League Two. Barrow, I think they've got relegation problems, don't they? They're only outside on goal difference. Bristol Rovers must take points off. Sorry, it's a very touchy mouse. I just touch it and off we go. So let's get back to this. So Barrow and Bristol Rovers is a relegation 6-pointer. More important for Barrow to take points off Bristol Rovers. Stop Bristol Rovers running away. Barrow enter the 30-point club with a win. So it's crucial for Barrow to do something here today. 2.45 the favourite tells you everything. Very, very tough. Fleetwood Town, oh Tommy, mid-table mediocrity. But again, enter the 50-point club. Crucial with matches running out. And Cheltenham, mid-table, not really pressuring the playoffs, not really being pressured by the relegation zones, petering out a little bit for them. Gillingham, 45 points. And the Dons are a little bit further up here. The Dons will go within 2 points of 70-point club with a win. And with Notts County and Swindon able to capture MK Dons in the playoff place, in the automatic promotion places, it's imperative that the MK Dons get something here today. Salford, yes, an impressive win last match at last. But if we look at their form, this is not a side to rely on totally. Good win against Barnet. But that, from out of nowhere, 3-goal haul for Grimsby was worrying. Lost to Shrewsbury, worrying. And a 3-2 loss to Cheltenham in mid-table is worrying. Have they steadied the ship? They're at 1.86 today, Salford. And again with Grimsby. Grimsby winning. That's why That match was so important last time. Grimsby getting the win against Salford, following it up with a draw, and they are within breathing distance with a chance to move up. Salford will break into the 60-point club, which is 1 foot in the playoffs with a win today, but they don't have a good profile recently, do they? Walsall find themselves on 56 with a win. So this is another playoff 6-pointer, isn't it? Huge match, Salford and Walsall today. Absolutely huge. Similar story for Barrow and Bristol Rovers, relegation 6-pointer. These are the ones where you've got that leverage. And it's these leverage type matches that I like to focus on. Doncaster and Luton, Barnsley and Cardiff. And in the Championship, Leicester City must do something. Millwall and Derby, playoff 6-pointer. Wrexham and Hull, playoff 6-pointer. Stoke and Ipswich, plenty of motivation for Ipswich away from home. Champions League, these are first leg matches, so it's very difficult for me to provide you with a trading angle pre-match. It is some exceptional results as well. Galatasaray, where on earth did they get all of those goals from against the old lady, who are normally defensively sound? Galatasaray have produced, or not produced, have bought the odd quality player. I think Victor Osimhen could have got his pick of the major European clubs, but chose the Turks. Now, he seems to have paid off. Liverpool, well, what are we going to do with them? What I recommend you do, and I've given this to members, is read these previews, particularly the hot stats. 8 of Galatasaray's last 10 matches, over 2.5 goals. Scored 3+ in 8 of the last 13. Liverpool have drawn none of the last 29. Could be a late later draw there. 5 of the last 7 games stand goalless at half-time. So that suggests, if it's goalless at half-time, lay the draw second half, based on Liverpool. As you can see, Victor Osimhen is an absolute key to Galatasaray, whose lineup. Some familiar faces. There's Victor Osimhen, Yilmaz. These are players who can probably get in a major European league. But we will see this evening. First legs, to be honest, I haven't even researched Thursday's matches in the Europa League and Conference League because they are first leg. Absolutely pointless for me to do so. This is all about reacting to the in-play stats this evening. And arguably, you can defer your trading to the second leg where we've got the first leg scoreline to work off. Atalanta against Bayern Munich. This is all down to the Bayern Munich goals forward line. That's why they're 1.67. Atalanta have pulled off some interesting results recently. But you can tell they've been affected by the Champions League with that 2-0 loss to 10-man Sassuolo, and then coming from behind to get that 2-2 recently the weekend, which we traded, not knowing, to be honest, that the Champions League was upcoming, and that's the reason for their collywobbles at the weekend. Conceding 2 goals in 2 consecutive matches against poor opponents. Well, Bayern Munich won't need an invitation tonight. Atletico Madrid against the boys from Tottenham. Difficult to read the boys from Tottenham. Simple as that. Getting rid of managers left, right and centre. Relegation dogfight. Deep in the Champions League. Their mentality must be all over the place. Atletico Madrid tend to be absolutely consistent at home. They got a 3-2 win at the weekend at home. Tend to do the job. Newcastle and Barcelona. This is a real tick or pat on the back for Newcastle with this juggernaut Barcelona. 2.4 only the favourite. Real vote of confidence for the market makers for Newcastle. 2-goal habit at home in the Premier League. Can they follow it up today? I would expect to see some fun and games in this one. Barcelona limping to a 0-1 win over Atleti at the weekend. Atletico Bilbao. So if you're still getting over the weekend profits, I might have to bring you back down to earth this evening. Tough coupon. In-play stats led predominantly, especially in the Champions League. Second legs are better traded than the first. I will be up and about for members, of course, this evening. Getting to the 20-minute mark. Have a great day. and I'll see members of FootballTradingProfits.com later on.